everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I've had a bit of a break over Christmas and New Year. I've been very busy with family and getting the cutting garden ready for all the things to be planted in the spring. But I'm back today and I'm going to show you how to do a bit of a Valentine's themed table arrangement. I've got some really beautiful flowers and foliage here, and we are going to do an arrangement in these really lovely candle holders. I just got these from a little shop in town, but this style is everywhere at the moment, and it's really fun, it's a bit different, and hopefully it should be quite easy for you to replicate at home. I'm using all locally grown seasonal British flowers for this arrangement. I am in the south of England, so it might be a little bit easier for me to find them than if you live up north. But have a look around, there's an awful lot of British flowers out there now, and if your local shop doesn't stock them, then talk to them and say, you know, I'd like to buy British flowers from you, so please start stocking them, because there are growers out there. And failing that, of course, you can always grow your own. These ones are obviously commercially grown because I don't have a greenhouse, but I've got some lovely hellebores and hyacinths and skimmia here that's all from my garden, which is really lovely to be using them in this arrangement. Okay, so I'm going to get started now. This smaller candle holder came with this little glass tea light holder in it, so I'm just using that. So this one came with a big glass collar that was open at the bottom, so obviously can't use it for water. So I've just used a pretty sort of crystal drinking glass. And with both of these, I'm not using Oasis. I'm trying to get away from using flower foam whenever I can, just because of the lack of eco credentials there. So to help my stems stay in place as I'm arranging them, I have just got a little bit of sort of fine floral wire. But you could sort of use any thin wire, and I just scrunched it up and popped it in my glass, and that's just going to help the stems as I put them in to sort of stay where I want them. Now you can use all sorts of things. You could use decorative gravel, like fish tank gravel. You could just put that in there and you could put the stems in there. You could use sand, there's lots of sort of things, like I think you could use twigs just to hold the stems in place. So I'm going to pop a little bit of water in. To start with, you can always top it up and then very carefully pop that in place. The same for this one. Now, I have been out for a little forage down the footpaths and in the garden to get some foliage. And from my garden, I've cut a few bits of this lovely Pittosporum. If you're into flower arranging at all, I really recommend that you plant a few of these. Really good for this sort of thing because they're evergreen and they're quite bushy and they keep their leaves really well. So I've got those, which is going to sort of form the main basis of my foliage filler. And then I've also been on this forage down the footpath and I've got all sorts of lovely things. Kitten. Right, we'll start again. So I've been for a lovely forage. I don't even know what half of these things are, but I've got some lovely sort of hazel catkins. I've got some honeysuckle, a bit of jasmine from the plant I'm growing. And then I'm going to start with my Pittosporum. And what I'm trying to do with this is just fill up the inside of the shapes. So I'm just going to snip the bottoms off here and just pop it through, and I just want it, I'm going to gently sort of train these things out, and all I want this to do is just sort of fill out that main shape. Now it doesn't need to be really full, I only need a couple of bits in each of them. Just like that, just to lightly fill the shape to provide a framework to put our flowers into. And I'm going to do exactly the same with this little one as well. You can see already that the wire is helping the stems stay where I put them, and the more material we put in there, the easier it will be to make things go exactly where you want them to go. And that's one of the reasons why we start with the foliage. Okay, now I've done the Pittosporum, I'm going to pop a little bit of this clematis in. I don't want to do too much foliage right at the beginning because I can always fill in gaps with it later, but I need to make sure I've got rid of the flowers. But I am going to just do a little bit of this clematis, and this is lovely because it's so drapey, it's got so much movement to it that it instantly, I think, elevates your designs to look really quite special. And I will do exactly the same on this little one as well, just pop a couple of little bits coming out the sides. There. Okay, so the flowers I'm using are Alstroemeria, which you'll probably recognise. These are the ones that look like mini lilies, and you see them in bouquets all the time. These are wonderful. They grow so well in the UK under glass, and you can pretty much get them most of the year from UK suppliers, which is wonderful. And then I'm also using tulips. I've got two different colours of tulips. I've got these lovely peachy ones and these sort of double ruffly, more purpley ones, which are absolutely just beautiful. And then over here I've got some narcissi. You know, they grow acres and acres of these in Cornwall and the Scillies, and you can get them from Christmas time, sort of all through spring, and they're absolutely wonderful, and they have an incredible scent as well. And then I've also got a few little bits from the cutting garden. I don't have a huge amount at the moment in the cutting garden that's flowering, but I do have the odd thing. I've got a hyacinth here, a beautiful pink hellebore, and some lovely skimmia. Okay, so I'm going to start with the Alstroemeria. Pick some of these lovely slightly open ones, and I'm going to cut that down. And the thing is, you know, this little one, I'm probably only going to need one stem of this. And I'm going to very, very carefully, without snapping them because they are quite delicate, very carefully just gently tease this flower through there to come on. Same with here, just popping them through there. So I've got a tall one. I'm going to do a couple of different length ones here. And then one really quite short one to go down the bottom. I'm going to pop that one through here, like so. Just gently, gently, gently. Okay, see my, oh, that's escaped. Okay, so I think I'm happy with the amount of Alstroemeria I've got in that. I'm going to start filling in the gaps with these beautiful tulips now. I'm peeling sort of all but one of the leaves off. The joy of these containers is, you know, all this sort of wire framework means it's really quite easy to just pop your flowers in and have them stay where you want. You know, if you did want to get creative for a bit of a Valentine's dinner at home, then this is a really lovely thing to do. Now you can see these tulips I got a couple of days before the purple ones, and you can see the way they work themselves into these wonderful shapes. If you did want to buy them a couple of days in advance and pop them in a vase on the windowsill, that might be a fab idea, because they will find their beautiful shapes while you do that. Excuse me while I just fail to put this tulip in, that's better. There we go. And I'm just, you know, constantly turning and looking and making sure that it's doing what I want it to do. And using those stems that are already in there to get my tulips in the position that I'd like them to be in. Constantly turning. I think I probably want a tall one up the top. And as you can see, it looks really sort of beautiful and organic, and like the flowers are growing out of this framework, which is the effect that we want. Okay, so I'm done with my tulips, and now I'm just going to move on to using a few of these extra little things here just to add the finishing touches. I'm just going to pop a couple of these narcissi into this vase. And of course you could do this with all of one type of flower, you know, if you saw a big bunch of tulips that you really liked, or if you just found some roses or something, you can do this. I would recommend using a mix of foliage to make it look nice and natural, but if you did want to make it look like just one plant was growing out, then that would also be really lovely. And I'm going to pop in finally my gorgeous, gorgeous pink hellebore into there, just looking for some gaps. I'm going to pop this pink hyacinth, which should flower properly. The flowers will open in the next couple of days, into there. like that. And my skimmier should go somewhere too, maybe in here. And the joy of this, because you're not using Oasis that could break down when you take stems in and out, is that if you're not happy with the placement of something, you can just pull it out and put it in somewhere else. It doesn't have to be permanent. Okay, so there are my two arrangements with their flowers in. Now I'm just going to bring up my foliage again, and I'm going to start to add a little bit more material in, fill in any gaps, and just bring the sort of twiggy bits out of it and make it look a little bit more natural. Okay, so I'm just chopping some sort of nice little bits of this foliage, and I'm popping them in around the side of my piece, just to fill in the gaps, because obviously it's a little bit less full down the bottom. Okay, so as you can see now, these twiggy bits are really starting to add a nice bit of movement to the arrangement, and just bring it out a little bit and make. Got one of those lazy Susans, those twirly things. That would be brilliant for this sort of thing, because you can just keep turning constantly and check that it looks good from all sides. Now, if you were making this for the chimney piece, for example, instead of as a table centrepiece, obviously then you don't need to worry too much about what it looks like at the back, and you can just keep it facing you and just sort of work from one side of it. But I'm going to pop these in the centre of the table for our Valentine's dinner, so I want them to look good from all sides. I'm going to pop that lovely bit of eucalyptus in the top of that one. Here is a little bit more of this lovely winter flowering clematis, which has got these very sort of delicate, creamy flowers. They're very understated compared to a summer clematis, but they are definitely worth having. Now, I think I'm nearly done with these, and I would just like to add a couple of sort of traily bits out of this bigger one. I really love the movement I've got in this smaller one, but I'm just thinking I want some smaller bits. And so I'm going to use trailing ivy, which is definitely not just for Christmas designs. It's brilliant all year, and you can get, I mean, look at that, that's just that shape is exactly what I wanted, just to pull this whole piece out a little bit more. And some more of it here along with this beautiful jasmine, just to bring some height. It's so wonderful to use. It makes these incredible shapes. The flowers are gorgeous, and so, I mean, the smell of fresh jasmine plants is just the most wonderful thing. So I would definitely recommend getting those. I'm really pleased with these. I think they've got just the effect I want, and I'm going to finish them off with some catkins. And I used to be obsessed with these as a child. I used to gather great armfuls of them, and I haven't lost that, I don't think, as a grown-up. I absolutely love them, and it's one of the great joys of living in the countryside, is this time of year and seeing them everywhere you go. And I'm going to just pop another one, I think here, where there's not a lot coming out, and just move that round so they hang nicely. And then just another couple of little bits. I'm going to pop that little catkin just in there, I think, to finish that off. So there we are, these are finished. I'm really pleased with them. I think they look gorgeous. I will pop them on our table for our Valentine's dinner with a few little tea light candles around. Thank you for watching. I really hope that you've enjoyed it and that you've been inspired to have a go at making your own centerpieces. If you do have a go, please do tag me on Instagram at Sarah Hill Flowers. I would love to see them. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a really lovely Valentine's Day, and I'll be back soon with another video about bulbs. Bye!